Welcome along again to Live on Air. This evening we're doing a New Zealand 2017 election special, and it's my great privilege to have with me here at Waiake Church Reverend John Murray, and online Reverend Wesleyan and the Reverend Ian Faulkner. Now, all of these people have been very generous with their time in coming into this evening's talk, because one way or another they've got a pretty vast amount of political experience, and some of them have stood for Parliament and others have been asked to stand for Parliament, and we'll explore that later in the evening. But just to begin with, a very quick whip around, guys, of what for you are the two most important election topics. John.
Well, hard to choose, David, because I've got 200, but it's hard to name two. But I named housing and environment.
Yes, good evening, everybody, and it's good to be here. I have a very keen interest on the housing issue, given that my two sons are thinking that they will be shut out of buying a house forever. And I am really interested in the growing divide, which is very obvious to me now, between those who can have a go at being a successful New Zealander or someone who can live comfortably and affordably in New Zealand, and those who can't. And I'm very interested about around that area.
Great, thanks for that, Wes Philly. And Ian, what about you? Have you got two hot topics?
Actually. My two are the increasing economic disparity between New Zealanders, and the second one is housing, for the same reasons that Wesleyan has mentioned.
Okay, I think the common one for all of you is housing, and it's obvious that the National Party position is that they've done enough over the last 9 years, and the market is cooling down and more houses are coming on stream, so it shouldn't be any problem, I guess, for your sons in the near future, Wesleyan. But you guys may have a different perspective on this. John, could I kick off with you, thanks?
Yeah, I think the dilemma I see with the whole housing issue is National Party as a government have been caught out, having denied for almost 9 years that there's an issue around housing, and now trying to buy some capital with housing issues without admitting that they've done nothing. And the example I give is that they've promised to the Auckland City Mission 27 million as a contribution towards a very large building to accommodate homeless. Now, in my involvement in the Methodist mission, we didn't really support that model at all, because it institutionalises homelessness and actually doesn't deal with any core issues of connecting to communities. The other part is that $27 million sounds like a large amount of money to give to one project, and therefore quite a good vote catcher. The reality is the project costs $90 million. So I'm not sure when it will ever happen. I think the other part is that the electorate, people are generally concerned about the affordability of housing and the availability of housing. And anybody who can address that, most people will feel okay with. My personal view is that when we dealt with housing in the mission, it was never, ever as simple as that. I think that housing driven by good government policy is actually a way of addressing a number of issues. It does deal with homelessness as long as you provide a raft of options and locations. But I think governments need to seriously think about how do they deal with the issues around housing affordability, in other words, first home ownership, without getting into the emotive argument about social housing, which to me is not the same thing. And I think it's become a convenient scapegoat for people to talk about social housing as though it's something someone else should do, and the rest of us, we can't afford housing. I suggest they're all the same thing, they're all part of the same thing, and they're all attached to a number of other issues. I talk about housing really as being a living issue. Where do people live? How do they live? What are the cultural networks that we are able to grow and be nurtured in a good housing policy? What are the infrastructural things that we're going to provide as part of a good social housing, community housing, first housing, retirement housing program? The other thing is, I think housing needs to be seen as a way of a government, as I've suggested, levelling the housing boom and bust syndrome out. If governments are involved, and I suggest that they can actually start building houses when everybody else is beginning to stop. They can actually begin to build houses by suggesting in their contracts that young people be, as part of the deal, part of the contract, actually have an opportunity to learn a trade. If you don't provide workplace opportunities, upskilling opportunities to young people, then you can't tender for the job.
I think that's a really interesting social dimension to social housing. It's not just a question of how do we put some houses there, but what is the whole infrastructure
David,
behind that?
I would argue that all housing is social housing. You know, we all need to be able to interact with everybody else. Seeing housing as simply a political issue or a issue to be avoided doesn't help. Or simply saying, if we do this, that's the problem solved. No, it's not. You have to do a raft of things. And I think good community interaction means that you end up not just with a short-term solution, you end up with some good long-term communities being established, built and nurtured around a good housing program.
But John's given a pretty comprehensive response, but I want to come really to the basic point that housing, which is meant to be a very basic need for families and communities and individuals, have become so politicised that we are now using housing as in New Zealand society as a divide between generations of those who have their own houses and those who want to buy a house. The second thing is that we are now dividing those who clearly have, because in Auckland, for example, you're a millionaire instantly with a house, whereas those who are basically needing a house can't even get into one. And that's a generational thing. It's not just going to be mum and dad who don't have a house, it's going to be their kids and possibly the grandkids. So it's a very deep divide that we have now established around what is a very important part of a healthy and well community. I don't know what the...
Sorry to interrupt. Do your sons see it as achievable to get a house?
I'm not sure whether they see it as achievable on their own, but it happens that we have a house that they might want to use to get their own. But that is a very real issue, as John had mentioned, the affordability. I mean, if we're talking affordability in the vicinity of $600,000 to $700,000 in Auckland for a very basic house, I think that is signalling some deep social problems going into the future.
Wester Philly, just a comment from you. You've talked about the purchasing of houses. I've not. I wonder if you'd like to comment on that, because I am not sure whether home ownership is necessarily a sign of achievement in terms of a solution towards housing. I wonder whether the idea, do you see rental housing also as a possibility, but better costing for it? Or do you see home ownership in itself as a right? I'm a bit confused. I'm not certain about that myself.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I have the answer to that, John. My sense is that most young people, if I was to take my two sons as an example, would like to aspire to home ownership. that is to buy their own home and actually build whatever their aspirations are for the future, as well as building their own home, their own families. So my understanding is that they're talking really about ownership rather than rental accommodation.
I would just like to contribute to, or to add to what John has said, in that, for me, housing is more than just 4 walls and a roof over somebody's head. It contributes to a whole range of other things. It provides stability for people. It provides health for people. It provides a sense of community. It provides a place for recreation. All those sort of things are a package which, to me, come out of secure and stable housing and the opportunity for people to be able to live in what we might define as a home.
Okay, Ian, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Which of the political parties is going to present the most opportunities for that kind of housing as far as you're concerned in this election?
I don't see it as putting me on the spot. What I do hear is one political party speaking a lot about aspirations and hopes, and being criticised because there is no detail in that aspiration and hope statement. And the other major political party saying, we've shown for a number of years that we're on the right track, you've just got to persevere with us for a little bit longer and all will come right. The latter group is one which I struggle to come to terms with. I am a person who likes to look for hope and aspiration, and would like to think that things develop from that.